Hello and welcome to episode 1060 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, May 31st. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How was your weekend? I know you had a sick child, but apart from that, how was it?
Yeah, two plus years of avoiding COVID like the Matrix, and that ended on Thursday. So my eldest got diagnosed with or tested positive for COVID. COVID, was really sick. We've been kind of just trying to take care of them while not getting it ourselves. So far, seems like we've done a decent job of everybody's testing this morning as soon as I'm done with this pod. So we'll see, make sure nobody else has COVID, but no one else is sick. So that's a good sign. Other than that, pretty low key, just doing, cleaning stuff around the house. Not doing much. Pretty quiet Memorial Day weekend.
Kept it pretty low key over here as well. Just hung out a bit, went out, saw Bob's Burgers movie, got the backyard cut and trimmed. I'm officially old, by the way. I bought a trimmer and I was so excited to use it. I was like way too excited because I didn't have one. And every time I cut the grass, I would just focus on the areas like up against the fence that I couldn't get close enough for. And I'm like, I just wish I had a trimmer. And I'm so old. Like, it's just, all the shit you make fun of when you're younger, you're going to start liking it. And maybe not all.
Did you put on your jean shorts and your New Balances?
I wear New Balance all the time.
So I do too.
New Balance fan. So
I am too.
Yes,
I've never. I mean, I understand the shade, but I've never really understood the shit. Like, New Balances are comfortable, man.
Yeah,
I have super wide feet, so like they make stuff for wide feet people. So I love me some New Balances.
I will very proudly wear my New Balances. I didn't have jean shorts, but kind of the sweat shorts I had a jort-like quality.
Nice.
So I'm sure I look great out there. I got my socks pulled up. I'm trying to fit the role. Like, let's be real. I'm embracing the role.
Jen has done good work.
Exactly. And I know the happiness when Shar goes out after a fresh cut always makes me happy. I'm probably just reading into it, but I swear she's a bit happier with the grass not tickling her underside. So I feel happy to help her out as well. You also participated in a mock draft, which we're going to get into as kind of our main topic. But let's get into some news and notes quickly, including getting your take on some prospects that came up and were kind of the big ticket items in the main event. Now, if folks listen to 1059 with Vlad, they'll hear my thoughts on those prospects with Vlad, but I wanted to get your thoughts as well. So I figured it was worth kind of diving back into them, but not before we talk about Shane Baz having a dominant start as part of his rehab. 4 innings, 1 hit, 0 runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Now, I've been a bit concerned that when Baz comes back, he might relieve, and this doesn't necessarily change that. But I think he'll be good when he comes back, no matter what. I just, I was never going to wait the 2+ months to get him back. So once he got hurt, it was over. But what do you think of Shane Baz, and what is his outlook this year when he gets back? He's now thrown 2 1/3, 2 1/3, and 4. He's up to 56 pitches. So they appear to be stretching him out, which means I would be wrong that he isn't going to start. Mm-hmm. Part of it would be that they don't have maybe enough depth to not start, and they might not have that luxury. But do you think he'll start? And if so, how good will Shane Baz be upon return?
I mean, I think he's going to be good. When we did our first draft of the year back in October at FBAS, I had him as a top 20 pitcher. And as draft season went on, I started to kind of cool that on that a little bit, just because I was worried about what the innings were going to look like and what the role was going to look like. And I agreed with you, after the injury, like, I didn't think he was coming back as a starter. I thought he was going to come back as a reliever. I mean, it's a guy who hasn't thrown didn't throw a ton of major league or any innings last year. And then they had the 2020 season. So I thought they were going to be very, very careful. Well, I think it's a matter of necessity, though. I mean, I think that's the reason why we're wrong. I think they need an arm, especially like Baz's, because that division is going to be really, really tough to win. Right now they're 5 games back of the Yankees, and only a half game up on the Blue Jays right now. So I think they're looking for a little shot in the arm. I think it's going to be Baz. And I think I think he has the potential to just be elite. Honestly, I mean, I think if he is available for some reason in your league, you need to go get him now.
I imagine there would be some shallow league availability of Boz if somebody's IL filled up or they just couldn't do it. He's at 71% in Yahoo, 68% ESPN. So not much, but enough to where that's not just dead leagues. So go check, see if Boz is available. He's really good. He had the 13 innings in the majors last year, 92 in total. I really thought he'd be on the Shane McClanahan plan this year with his innings, but then I did get very worried about the bone chip surgery. And I was thinking, okay, using Eovaldi as a loose comp when this happened to him in 2019, a more established guy, he came back. He didn't really start until later, and he took even an extra month on the timeline. So we'll see. I like Boz, though. He's too good not to take a shot with. So if he is available, you got to take that shot. Speaking of AAA, Riley Green is at AAA now. He got moved up in his rehab after a couple games with Lakeland, the high A club. He gets moved up. The Tigers need Riley Green so bad. There's a part of their lineup, a 4-pack in their lineup that all batted in order yesterday. I don't know the order off the top of my head, but it is these 4 guys. I think it was Scope, Baez, Candy, Torque, whatever the order was, doesn't matter. They're all sub 200 batting averages, 198 and below for that grouping there. And batting average is not the end all be all, but when you got 4 guys in the middle of your order hitting that poorly, it is rough. And they need an infusion of offense. Can Riley Green be that infusion for the Tigers and really jumpstart their offense? Because in addition to him being a AAA and a rehab, Austin Meadows is starting a rehab from his vertigo. What if they are able to plant those two back into the outfield around the same time? What do you think of Riley Green? And then you can throw in a chip in thought on Meadows' return if you have anything to say there.
I mean, I like Riley Green a lot. I mean, I think it's unfortunately for the Tigers, probably a little bit too late. They're already 10 games back in the division. This was a team that, like, I think some people thought were going to compete, but it was a fringe team at best, right? Like it's still. I think next year is the year the Tigers make a big jump.
I was just hoping for a 500 type season.
They could, I mean, Riley Green looked like the real deal in spring training. Austin Meadows, I know, like, people were like mocking him in kind of his production, but like the underlying numbers weren't bad. Like I feel like he was going to turn it around.
Yeah, the only thing was the power for him.
Yeah.
Like he just hasn't gotten into his power. He still has a 112 OPS plus for Meadows. So if his power gets going, he should be totally fine.
And as we're seeing, the ball is flying a lot more. I haven't done any sort of like statistical research on that, but just the looks of it is the ball is flying a lot more than it was in the first month of the season. So I think Meadows will be Austin Meadows, and I think Green has the potential to be a really, really good player right off the bat. I mean, obviously we've seen other rookies struggle, so we don't want to just assume he's going to, be good right off the bat. But that makes the team a lot better. It's clear that, I mean, Robbie Grossman hit the IL yesterday, but it's clear like he is just not the thing that needs to be in the outfield right now, even when he is healthy. So, I mean, I think that'd be huge additions for them. I just think it's likely too little, too late.
I tend to think so as well. It doesn't mean I won't be excited for Riley Green. What kind of NFBC price do you think he's going to go for upon arrival? You think he's still going triple digits pretty easily?
I think he's probably only available in 12s. I assume that. I'm double checking. Yeah, he's not available in
my
leagues.
That's a great call. That's a great call.
Yeah, because he was drafted, I think, in the majority of leagues. So
in most mains, Riley Green was drafted. Let me see if there's any where he is available. Let's see what the percentage is. Roster rate is 75%, so there's still 25%.
Yeah.
47 times 25, so it's about 12 leagues, 12 mains where Riley Green's available. Not ours, but what do we think?
I think he's a $100 to $200 player.
Yeah,
easily.
It's obviously depends on what people have.
People named Justin Mason were dropping 300 plus on Gorman. So
far so good.
Yeah. Like I was saying last night.
Your offense went
to
off
Dustin.
last night,
yeah,
too.
I was like, I was like, I need this because otherwise I'm not going to compete. So, I had a pretty good night last night, which was pretty awesome. Gained 13.5 points in the
Jumped up
standings.
to third.
Yeah.
You had a huge night. So, yeah, both those guys are coming back. I mentioned these prospects went off this week, and they went for some pretty big sums. Michael Harris, the second, Cal Mitchell, Oscar Gonzalez, Christopher Morel. What did you think of this group? Were any on your target list? You've been spending a lot recently in our league, but I know you're in two mains. So were you looking at any of these guys in our league or no because of your recent spend? And were you looking at them in any of the of your other league in your other main?
I wasn't really looking at them. I mean, I took a look at them, but I didn't put major bids on any of them. Morel was the one I was the most interested in.
Yeah, that's my favorite too.
And but I don't think he was available in any of my leagues last night, or on Sunday. So
no, he was available in ours. Rusty got him for 67.
Oh,
Dusty got him for 67. Dustin.
Then I missed that in ours. So I mean, this was an unfortunate week for me to be kind of preoccupied with my kid during FAF because I did not put enough effort into it this week. But Morel's a guy I picked up in a couple leagues in places a couple weeks ago, so that's been nice. He's got speed. It looks like he's going to play pretty regularly.
Yeah, batting atop the order. I know it's the Cubs, and they have a 9-game week too. That's what made Morel so appealing, even in just the short term. You're at 272 in our league though too. You might have been better off sitting this one out. Like your team is cooking in the right direction as well. So maybe you got saved from yourself there by being a little bit away from things where you did put in bids. You won players, but you weren't going crazy and really looking at those guys that at the big four. Morel was your favorite. Were any avoids for you of the four?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that Oscar Gonzalez is like super interesting. I mean, I guess there is opportunity because it's Cleveland. And Michael Harris, like, where is the opportunity long term for him in Atlanta? So I don't know, and that's why I didn't want to invest. Like I knew people were going to spend a lot of money, or some people were going to spend a lot of money on some of these guys, and I was just like, I don't want to get caught up in spending money that's going to end up dead.
Ours was the biggest league, 288.
Oh, was it?
In there, yeah. Definitely the biggest one. And
that just feels like it has the potential to be very Josh Lowian, where you spend a ton of money and then you're just eating that money later on.
And almost the same relative to where budgets are right now, right? Like 555 and 288 aren't the same, but percentage of remaining budget, probably pretty close.
Yeah.
And, you're looking for the speed from Michael Harris, has 11 steals, but also 5 homers at AA, but made the jump from AA. It's like they trust him and they're going to give him a shot while he's up. But if he doesn't do well, he's going to go back down because he skipped AAA. So this isn't something where it's just going to be like, oh, we're going to figure this out at the major league level no matter what with Harris. So I put in some bids and I felt like I was relatively competitive, but Morel went for 67. I totally get that. If I needed him, that's the kind of price I'd have been at. I was at, what was I at? 37 was not mine, the secondary bid. Oh yeah, I was at 22. And like I didn't figure that I was going to get him, but that's the old keep him honest, and maybe I slide into something a little special there. But interesting group. And then, Cal Mitchell, interesting tweet that I received, I think, from Jesse Roach about Cal Mitchell's speed. Like, he's not legitimately fast. He is 6 for 6 so far, but he was like 13 for 29 in the minors before this year. And he might just be making better decisions on the base paths. He got a 40 speed in our profile of him. So, be careful expecting those steals to necessarily be there with Cal Mitchell. But all 4 guys are pretty intriguing. 12-teamers, just kind of keep these guys on your radar, except for Morel. I think you can pick them up now. And then the other 3 are like kind of based on need. But let's get into the Memorial Day mock. This was an industry group of folks here. I believe this is Jeff Erickson, Perry Van Hook, Peter Kreutzer, Howard Bender, Tim McLeod, Joe Sheehan, Andrew Lamont, Todd Zola, Shelly Verstrate, yourself, Justin Mason at 10, Scott Pianowski, and Steve Gardner pulling up the rear at 12. So interesting 12-team mock that is still going because there were no Memorial Day leagues from NFBC this year.
Why? Like, what happened?
Interest level.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was like, yo, what's going on? Can I get in the league? I'm ready. I wasn't asking for one for free or anything. I was like, I'll pay. He's like, we're not doing them. I was like, oh, dang. So
That's unfortunate.
it's a bummer, unfortunately. But what was your strategy going in at 10? Did you mentioned that you didn't get in and make like full crazy rankings, but did you have a general strategy off the top, or were you just going BPA, best player available, early and often?
So I mean, my plan had been like, hey, because this thing came together very, very quickly, and I didn't think it was going to start as quickly as it did, but they wanted to try to get as much as they could before the end of the weekend, and so I was like, oh, I'll take best player available first couple rounds, and then I'll make ranks and stuff, and then of course my kid tested positive for COVID, so that threw that out the window. So yeah, I kind of just went best player available. I knew that with the state of pitching that I didn't need to take an ace super early. I was actually more concerned with making sure I got some good closers, because I just didn't want to kind of swim in that back end of the pool.
Yeah, you favored closers again. You went Hendricks and Iglesias, so similar to what we would have done in the spring. But you still got an ace. You got Zach Wheeler. So how'd that feel when you still ended up getting an ace, even though you didn't prioritize one? He's back.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. He just fell too far. Like I was more thinking about. I was more thinking about kind of just hammering offense right there. But when Zach Wheeler made it to me in the fourth round, I was just like, okay, that's totally fine. And it's a 12-teamer, so I mean, it's not like super late, but yeah, I mean, Wheeler's been great this year. He looks like he's completely past whatever shoulder issues were troubling him kind of in early spring. And yeah, I think he's an ace. He's one of the aces we could feel confident about. I mean, how many aces are we like worried about or have been complete, dumpster fires?
Exactly.
Trevor Rogers.
Yeah, no. It's been scary for some guys, and you lop off those first two starts for Wheeler. I think it's reasonable to do that, assuming that's his spring training, including that 7 earn run at Miami. And since then, he has a 2.06 ERA and a 1.74 FIP with 52 Ks, 9 walks, and 43 2/3 for Wheeler. So he's been excellent. You did get Kyle Tucker at the 10 spot, and then Vlad fell out of the first round to the second. So you went Tucker, Vlad there.
My hope had been to go Tucker and then one of the third basemen, whether it be Devers or Machado, but they went like
both right after you.
Yeah, went right. Pianowski and Steve Gardner, two of the sharpest guys in the industry. So,
do you think Tucker would have made it back if you'd have gone third baseman first?
Probably. Yeah.
So you have some minor regrets.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to regret taking Vlad. I mean, I really wanted to go Tucker Machado. What Machado has been doing this year has been unreal, especially with the stolen bases.
With the speed, yeah.
And this was, we have a little group chat, you, me, Jason, and Eno, like prior to the real ramping up of draft season goes, hey, this humidor going into San Diego is really going to help Machado a ton. And I wish I had prioritized him. I got him in a number of leagues, including Tout and I think my auction. But I wish I'd gotten him in more spots.
Eno was on that, like you said, like as draft season was still going, plenty of time to cash in. And Machado's just been otherworldly. You mentioned Vlad. You got him in the second round. I don't blame you for that pick at all. So I don't bring these numbers up to shade you. More to say, ask you how you feel. 40 games since getting the hand stepped on in that 3-homer game. He's at 234, 341, 368, or 369 with the slug. 5 homers, 16 ribbies, 14 runs. That paces out to like a 20, 65, 60 type season. Like obviously not good. Causation or correlation? Like, do you think it is the hand that might be bothering him, or just a cold snap there with the power?
I feel like it's a cold snap. And he's too good of a hitter to pass up. at that spot. Maybe I could have. I really strongly considered Otani there too, just because of how good Otani's been on both sides.
Plate skills are still beautiful for Vlad.
And that's the thing.
BABIP at 255. He is on the ground 53% though, so the ground balls have come back, and that could be something with the hand, or it could just be like, oh, that's an easy. We can kind of retrofit the hand as the reason. We don't really know though.
Yeah,
because it did start right there.
I agree. It's a really hard, hard thing to. I would think if he's having real issues with a hand, I mean, this is a generational player who the Blue Jays are, hitched to for a long time. So, like, I think if there was a real issue with the hand, he'd be on the IL. Like, he'd be getting healthy. I know they want to try to compete this year, but his long-term health is more important. So, I assume it is coral or this is not,
this is correlation, not causation.
Yeah, this is not causation, but you never know. I mean, how many times have we seen guys try to work, play through
that's the thing,
these type of injuries and just never get better.
If he's not telling them how bad it is for Vlad's hand, maybe that's part of it as well. He's like, no, I'm good. It's just a cold snap. I'm going to be fine. I think he'll probably be fine, though. I like that the plate skills are still strong. It just got to get the ball back up in the air a bit. Trout and Betts jumped up to 5 and 6 respectively. Not shocking, obviously. I don't believe it shouldn't be. But if either of them had fallen to you, would you have snap picked them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think my biggest not my biggest regret, but one of my regrets so far in the early season is not drafting Betts everywhere. Because I was not one of the, Trout, I was fading Trout along with everybody else. And is that going to turn out to be a bad decision? Yeah, probably. But like, I stand by the thought process. With Betts, I was not fading him. And I just didn't make him a priority in the way I should have. I mean, I've got a number of teams where Betts would look really, really good on it, as opposed to Ozzy Albies or whatever pitcher, Max Scherzer or whatever, whoever I took in the back end of the first round. And Betts he's just a stud.
He's so amazing.
I wish I had just been more aggressive on him, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I can say that I was. Like I said earlier, I got saved a bit by Govier. I was annoyed when Albies went, and I settled for my quote unquote consolation of Betts. I felt great. I took Betts anywhere I could, though. I never really got it why there was even any pushback. I guess it was related to the hip, which isn't crazy to think, but he's just so good. He's on the best team, and he covers, in addition to doing other good things, but he covers the category that is most underrated, which is runs. And he already has 50 runs on the year. Mookie Betts,
it's insane.
Is unbelievable. 15 homers and 4 steals, 304 batting average. He's on an MVP clip.
Not just on the best team in baseball, but a team that we were looking at to start the season as potentially one of the greatest offenses of all time. Like we were talking about, you've got Cody Bellinger hitting like 7th or 8th in this lineup. It's an unreal good lineup, and the thought that there were a lot of people fading him when he's the centerpiece of this amazing offense.
He's the catalyst.
Is ridiculous. So
Betts gets it going, and he's otherworldly. Jeff Erickson brought up a great point on his pod the other day. I completely agree. If Edwin Rios was in a different organization, he'd be an everyday player who we'd be talking about all the time, and he's their extra guy. Yeah, he's an extra guy for them now that Muncy's hurt. He
was a target of mine during Fab. I mean,
killer power. OBP under 300 right now, but I think with steady playing time, he's a rhythm type guy. A lot of guys are, but especially these all or nothing guys, they got to get into their rhythm a bit. He's going to have strikeouts. He's going to have a little bit lower batting average, but I like Rios. Byron Buxton still went in the 3rd round. What were your thoughts on that? Do you agree? Because we talk about Vlad sputtering a bit. Byron Buxton is hitting 203, 285, 508. So the power's still there with the 11 homers, kind of buoying up the numbers. And I know batting averages are down, but 203. And the crazy thing about that is he started hot. So you can't even be like, oh, it's just been a tough year. He's hitting 143 in his last 103 plate appearances. What do you think of Byron Buxton still going in the third round of this draft? Do you agree?
I'm not surprised. There's always going to be people who are Buxton apologists, and driving that bandwagon. I'm not like super worried necessarily about the production. I think he'll end up being fine. He'll turn it around. This is just a really ugly cold streak.
Comical whip of 129, like comic or BABIP. I don't know why I said whip.
Yeah,
just comically low, like that. Like, how do you get that unlucky?
It's not gonna continue. I mean, the question for me was, obviously I wasn't taking him in the second round over Vlad, but even if he had made it to me in the third round, injuries are always like there, and I just the hard part about when you do like these second half leagues, right, or in this case Memorial Day, is like sometimes people will be like, well, I'm just going to take the highest upside possible, right? And hope a guy stays healthy. The problem is a 10-day IL stint or a 2-week IL stint is a larger portion of the season.
And so it's not scaled down. It's not like a 6-day IL stint. It's still the 10 or 15.
Mm-hmm. We saw this in the 2020 season. Like people were like, oh, I'm going to shoot for the moon. I'm going to do this. And it turned out to be a really poor strategy in most cases, because you lose a guy once, you're losing the guy potentially for a quarter of the season and maybe a half the season. And so, guys like Buxton end up dropping a ton on my board personally, just because I'm not willing to take the gamble on a guy who, habitually misses time.
Absolutely. And I totally understand. I've been a Buxton buyer and a believer. In this instance, I don't think I would have gone for him, but I don't disrespect the pick in the third. The upside.
I'll tell you though, and I know we're going to talk about surprises.
Yeah, let's go into that. Bring. What are some of your bigger surprises from the first 5 rounds?
This isn't necessarily a surprise, but seeing some of the names that maybe a week or two ago we would have completely ignored, like Trevor Story going in the back end of the second round. I mean, people were leaving him for dead.
Yep.
10 days ago or whatever, whatever this hot streak started. And now he is a back end second round in a 12-teamer. Like that's insanity to me. Like, just how quickly, we mentioned kind of briefly, like how good my main event team was yesterday. Like, and you can still gain double-digit points in leagues. Like, it's still super early in the season. So please do not write your teams off if you're in 14th or 15th place. Like, just keep grinding, because I
had a 13.5 point Friday night. I went up 13.5 points, and I was actually going to screenshot it and put it out, not to brag that my team had a good night, but to show people like this is still happening in leagues. And it is dependent on your standings, but a lot of leagues, this is probably the norm, where your league standings are tight enough to where if you have the right night, a quality night, it wasn't even some eye-popping night. It was good, obviously, but it wasn't 20 homers or anything. I gained 13.5 points, and you had the big one last night where you went up to third place with 100 points. Things are still changing. Players are still changing. Now you would never know that Story got off to such a slow start. He's at 9 homers, 6 steals, and boom, he's right back in the second round. Anybody else in those first 5 rounds, those real foundational players that stood out to you? I see like a Tariq Skubal going up there. Your boy Cedric almost felt. Now, if he'd have been there for you in the 4th, he went 1 pick before you. Would you have taken him, or were you sticking with Zach Wheeler there?
I think I would have stuck with Wheeler. I might have taken him just because I was a little worried about like what speed was going to look like after taking Tucker and Vlad. There was potential I could have, but I got my boy Jorge Mateo later on. So it all worked out for me. But yeah, all those people saying Cedric Mullins was going to fade.
5 hits. Or 5 homers, 11 steals, 241 average. Again, that's not too terrible for what we're in the context today. pacing for 1736 with 83 runs, 53 ribs, and a 241 average. That's not too bad. That's really not bad at all.
That'll do. That'll
play.
Do. Yeah,
that will absolutely play.
Isn't that pretty much what you were like, hoping Starling Marte's ceiling is? Like,
yeah, exactly. Something like that. With more ribbies from Marte's a little bit on a better team, of course. But
yes.
You can't be upset with what Cedric Mullins is doing. He's the 61st player overall right now. That's not too bad. Anybody else in the top 5 rounds there that really jumped out to you? Like, whoa, it looks pretty stock outside of a couple pockets.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody like Albies dipped to the 4th makes sense, but a little bit jarring to see. Anything else that you saw in the first 5 rounds?
A little surprised Julio Rodriguez doesn't go
That's
higher.
where I was going next. Yeah.
I think he was in consideration in the first 2 rounds for me. Now here's the thing. Like I said, this thing got thrown together really quickly. We're going to talk about some other players here in a minute that like fell way, way too far.
Mm-hmm.
I think players, because people who were in the mock did not have time to like really prepare ranks and things like that. I think players were just missed, and I think maybe that's the case because Julio Rodriguez is a borderline first-round pick. I think at this point.
I mean, he's been amazing. Yeah. And the thing was, even when he wasn't hitting, the steals were there to keep your fantasy value afloat. He leads baseball with 14 steals, but now he has 6 homers and a 270 average. So now everything is there. So 5th round for Joe Sheehan is absolute thievery to pair him with Betts and Pete Alonso, and then his Walker Buehler, Pablo Lopez combo for pitching. I don't hate that either. So yeah, that was a bit of a steal, I thought, for sure. Marcus Semien, 3rd, 4th rounder, fell down to the 10th. Not particularly surprising. He did finally get his first homer. Now that we've had another few weeks since we've talked about him, what's his outlook for the rest of the year for you? What do you realistically expect from here forward from him?
I got to stand by what I said before, which is I think he'll end up being fine in a lesser version of what you wanted originally when you drafted him. I don't know that he's going to return value. I mean, that's if you took him in the 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th rounds, that unfortunately I don't think that's going to pan out.
I think if you trade for him from today forward, you could net value.
Sure,
absolutely. I kind of agree with the projections that are like mid to upper teens homers, 10 plus steals, 250 average. That's good for like a 117, 118 WRC plus from Semien. So I could see that, but I understand why he went in the 10th. Cal Wright bounced up to the 6th. You comfortable with that? Do you believe in this breakout from the Atlanta former number 5 overall pick?
I mean, I believe in it to a point. I think when you start taking him that high and you start taking him over,
there's some guys that you wouldn't have done that.
Let's see, was that
it's coming back the other way? So Cease and Montas went right before him, and then Nestor Cortez, Bieber, Gilbert.
I think I'm taking Gilbert and Luis Garcia, Logan Webb, who fell all the way to me in like the 8th or 9th round.
Yeah.
That felt like a steal. Even Chris Bassett, even who fell another round after that. Like I know he had a really bad start the other day, but it was against my Giants. And
yeah, you got Webb in the 10th.
Oh yeah, it was when he was there. I was like, and this is one of the reasons why. Like, one, it's a 12-teamer. 2, the state of pitching this year has been so insanely good. I was like, I can hobble together a pitching staff later on, kind of do the Nick Pollock, thing, right? Nick plays in a lot of 12s and he goes, I don't take a starting pitcher in the first, 5 to 10 rounds. And I was like, oh, that's what I'll do. Wheeler just kind of fell into my lap. But I was like, I figured there would be some deals at some point, and there were.
I like the Brett Reynolds pick by you, by the way.
Thanks. Reynolds, I know he has not been great to start the year.
I just don't see major concern, though. I just did an investigation on him this morning during my stream, and I think it's all there still to bounce back.
Yeah, and then he hit a home run like right after I picked him. And I think there is a chance like the Pirates look to cash in on him at the trade deadline, and he ends up the Yankees or on a you know a really
Contending
good
club.
team in a
That'd be
much better
great.
park. So I like Reynolds a lot.
I like that.
But I like
Ryan
Wright.
Reynolds, my bad.
I just know there's gonna be bumps, right? Like he's
Yeah.
been great, but we've seen the bumps, and I want to see how well he's able to kind of maintain these levels deep into the season. I just don't know that we know how that's going
We
to work
don't
out.
know yet, but he has answered some bumps pretty nicely. The
Mhm.
foundation of skills is definitely there for Kyle Wright. It is still just 9 starts, though. And
Yeah.
so we don't know exactly. 6th round probably would have been a little bit too pricey for me. I wouldn't have been too far off, though. I'm looking at some guys like Gilbert, Bieber, Webb. I'm a pretty big Fromberto guy. I like Framber
Mhm.
Valdez. I probably would have taken him. Luis Garcia, you mentioned. I don't know. What about Eric Lauer went in the 12th? I think between the two at price, I much prefer Lauer in the 12th than Wright in the 6th.
I think it's kind of like if you're looking for upside versus safety. Not to say that Lauer doesn't offer some upside because he's been great this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the argument, and I tend to lead towards safety, right? I tend to lead towards the guy. It's not like Lauer is punchless. He's not Miles Mikolas out
No,
there.
he's
Like
getting Ks.
he's getting the strikeouts this year. So but I also feel like that floor is so much safer with Lauer than the guy who's unproven like Kyle Wright. And Atlanta's park in the summer could be a problem as well. So
True, but Milwaukee's is not a cakewalk.
That's true. But Lauer does a really good job of limiting the homers. So.
I love Lauer. And again, at that price discount, I think that's where I really lean there, even though I'm a big Kyle Wright fan. Yeah. You mentioned that some guys just fell, and this one really stood out to me. I could not believe Ryan Helsley went in the 21st.
Yeah, I think that was one of those cases. For me, like I already had 3 closers.
Yeah, you were fine. You took 2 studs early, and then also added you had Hendricks and Iglesias, and then you got Chapman in the 17th. So you're kind of specking on him late. But you had 2 mega studs.
I'm not, and we weren't drafting reserves. Like I just made a decision not to draft a 9th pitcher just so I could take Justin Turner and put him on my bench. Mm-hmm. Usually we would draft reserves, and so yeah, I mean he kind of got missed. Tanner Rainey got missed when the last round. Juan Yepes got missed. I think if there was an ADP, if we had more time to prepare, these guys are going much earlier. I think those are just huge oversights.
Definitely. Jake Cronenworth went in the last round. What? I know he's not playing that well, but isn't that too low, or am I just too much of a Jake Cronenworth stan?
I don't know. I'm really worried about Cronenworth, and I have.
It's not good. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just There's not much to other than the fact that San Diego's beat up and they continue to kind of throw vote. I mean, they went out and got Robinson Cano to add depth, which is oh wow, that's what that's the addition. Yeah. I worry that once Tatis is back, the rest of the team is healthy, that Cronenworth's going to lose some playing time because this is a team
he might if he doesn't get his stuff together.
Well, they also are going to. I think they may be the most active team at the trade deadline.
They are not shy about being active. So
I think this is Preller's last chance. Like if Preller doesn't make the playoffs with this roster, then he's gone. In spite of the fact of what he's done to turn around, what was like one of the worst franchises in baseball into what looks like a potential juggernaut in the future. I think this is his last opportunity. He's got to make the playoffs this year. So I think he'll be super active, and Cronenworth's second base spot is a place where they could, stand to upgrade quite a bit, which would mean he moves into like a super utility role, and he's competing with guys like Profar and Kim for playing time.
Yep, I think that's fair. And listen, Cronenworth's 28. His skills are supposed to be solid above average to average everywhere. That's kind of the beauty of him. So there's no carrying standout tool. And that's kind of showing here on the negative range of outcomes for something like that. It ends up being this kind of meandering season. The one issue I do have with Cronenworth's profile is the ball's in the air way too much. His fly ball rate is up 9 points to 45%. That's been a big problem. He's a line drive, ground ball type guy. That you want that batting average with some pop, but he's got to kind of shift that back, I think, to where it's more of a mid-40s ground ball and a mid-30s fly ball. I think that's where he's best. So I'm not giving up on him. I thought that was a little late, but I understand the reasons for concern with Jake Cronenworth right now. And as you said, they're going to be active too. That's one thing that could really muddy the water for Jake Cronenworth's playing time if he doesn't turn it around.
He's still making elite zone contact. He's hitting the ball hard enough. I think you're right. I think he might be trying to sell out a little bit for power, and that's a mistake.
Don't do that, especially with this ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally agree there. Anybody else stand out? Anybody else you want to hit on before we get going?
There was a little bit of confusion. It was supposed to be set up as a 2-catcher league, and when it was accidentally set up as a 1-catcher league initially, and then they changed it halfway through. So the catcher prices are all over the place.
Okay.
I'm sure Paul will link the board so people can see. So, but don't worry about the catcher prices because 8 or 9 rounds in, they were like, oh, it's 2-catcher. I know it says 1, but it's 2.
That kind of just
a lot. Threw off a lot of people, including me, because it's like, well, why would I take a catcher?
Exactly.
The
1 versus 2 complete. In a league like this, I would have taken Jonah Heim with one of my last picks if it's 1 catcher, but in 2 catcher, I don't want to be buried. So I would have, taken somebody a bit earlier. So I totally understand that vibe there, but it's fun. I'm glad you guys did something just to kind of see where the market's at right now. It is a bummer that NFBC didn't have enough interest to do the Memorial Day leagues, but honestly, probably saved me for myself. I don't really need another league. I've actually got some solid competing teams. I feel pretty good about where I'm at in our main, even sitting in 8th right now. I don't care that much about the standings. Like I said, I've spiked up to 5th, 6th on nights. I know that the points are there if my team goes right, but
things are super. This is the time to really dig into your standings and really figure out hey, what do I need to address?
Yes. Do you have glaring holes that you might fall behind on if you don't address?
And so I highly recommend people copy and paste or download their standings into a spreadsheet and then figure out okay, hey, where am I weak? Where am I strong? In training leagues, where can I make trades? But also
be realistic.
Yeah. Also look at each individual category and go, okay, how many points can I stand to gain or lose in any given, 2-week period, right? And that should give you a real idea of okay, I need to be aggressive here in saves or, in power, or I need to cut bait on this guy because it's just, he's dragging down my year-end whip, things like that. So, now's the time. Things are going to start stabilizing. We're going to have less and less of these double-digit point moves in the standing, but there's still plenty of time. You will see people as June starts to roll on to just check. We'll just check out in your leagues. Take advantage.
Even though
of
they
that.
shouldn't, but it'll be great.
Yeah,
because they will. They'll start to turn their attention to football.
I've got a few 14 place or 15 place teams right now. And I'm not giving up on them. I'm going to keep grinding because I've seen, Rob Silver once, and first time I ever talked to him on a pod, he said, his main event team was in 15th place in his league the year he won the overall in June.
There's so much time left.
Yeah.
Just to give you a microcosm of the standings and what standings probably look like in a lot of leagues. In home runs in our league right now, there are 8 teams in a band from 73 to a very nice 69 homers. So there's a lot of volatility there. Saves are like that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 teams in a 21 to 26 save band. 5 saves are separating that many teams. And then there's a 19 below that. That's wins, excuse me, not saves. But there's so much movement to be done in a lot of leagues. Now your standings, it depends on your standings. I guarantee a lot of standings are similar to this. I don't think our league is an outlier in any way, shape, or form, just based on my history playing leagues. The standings are just not settled at this point in the year. And that goes for those of you doing well. Do not go into coast mode. You will get smacked upside the head before you know it. And you'll be from 1st to 5th. And you'll be like, what the hell? I was in 1st. And I understand that you can feel that that goodness when you are in first, like, I can breathe a bit. No, you can't. You absolutely cannot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Things
and I
can,
don't
things
say
can
this to call
change
him
on a
out.
dime. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't say it to call him out, but just to highlight the point. Michael Govier was trending first in our league for a good while. In fact, he was first as recently as May 15th. He's in sixth now. And it's not because his team sucks or anything. It's because that's where the standings are. And that's that's kind of how things go. At that same time, you know, by the way, if you listen to the Sunday RotoWire pod, you'd think Scott Genstead is not doing well in any of his
you know
leagues.
what? I'm tired of this Scott Genstead
Striker soft sells himself.
humility act. Like it's sickening. It's
Striker has the 5th overall team and the 56th overall team, including
I'm in
leading
both
our
those
league.
leagues, by
He's
the
in
way.
both years, right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's leading both leagues right now. And you hear him get on the Sunday night, and you'd think this guy checks his lineups twice a week and barely knows what's going. He's always like, you know, I just got things going on, and I'm grinding. I'm doing okay. Striker, we're on to you because we're both. Justin's in both your leagues, and I'm in one of them. We're on to you, Striker. We know you're killing it.
I'm tired of this good guy, humble act. I want some victory laps. Damn it.
Yeah, Striker, say you've already won it. Just lie. Just be like, I'm so glad I won this league. This league was too easy. These are a bunch of losers in this league. I dare you. But no, it's been a great league. It really has. It's lived up to the hype. And I honestly can't wait to kind of see how the rest of the summer unfolds. But I've got to get to my RotoWire spot. Justin, it was great speaking with you. I will talk to you again on Friday.
Take it easy.